In a quiet village, tucked away between deep forests and misty hills, lived a boy named Eli. He wasn't like the other children. His eyes held a spark of endless curiosity, and he spent his days exploring the woods, scaling ancient trees, and gathering little treasures left behind by passing travelers. One crisp autumn afternoon, Eli's wanderings took him further than ever before. The wind seemed to whisper secrets through the bare skeletal branches, and a faint golden light pulled him deeper into the woods. He followed it, his heart thumping with excitement, until he found himself in a small clearing he'd never seen. There, half hidden by a blanket of fallen leaves, was a strange ancient book. Its leather cover was cracked with age, and peculiar symbols, both foreign and mesmerizing, seemed to dance across its surface. Eli, unable to resist its pull, reached out and picked it up. The very moment his fingers made contact, a cold shiver traced a path down his spine. He opened it, and his eyes widened. The pages were filled with bizarre stories, legends of monstrous creatures, forgotten gods, and powerful dark magic. Each story was more chilling than the one before, yet he found himself completely captivated, unable to look away. That night, back in the safety of his small home, he pored over the book by the flickering light of a single candle. The words on the page seemed to squirm and shift, whispering directly to him. At first, the tales were just thrilling stories of dragons and spirits, the kind that make a young boy's imagination soar, but as he read on, they took a much darker turn. One legend, in particular, seized his attention. It described a ritual, a set of words and actions that could summon beings from the ancient world. These weren't just spirits. They were beings of immense power, so formidable that even the greatest heroes of old had been unable to control them. Eli, in his youthful innocence, thought it was all just a grand spooky story. He was a boy who loved tales of adventure and magic, and this was the most incredible one he had ever found. But his curiosity was a powerful force, and it soon overshadowed his caution. He began to follow the instructions detailed in the book, reading the strange words aloud. He didn't understand that the ritual required more than just spoken words. It needed a connection to the land, a sacrifice of innocence, and a heart that had never known true malice. Eli's heart was pure, but it was also untested. In that moment, as the last syllable of the ancient incantation left his lips, the air in his room began to shimmer and distort. From the deepest shadows of the room, shapes started to stir. At first, they were small, unsettling things, crawling creatures with too many legs, eyes that gleamed like polished stones and claws as sharp as bone fragments. But they didn't stay small for long. They began to grow, their forms twisting and expanding into monstrous, unnatural shapes that defied logic. They poured from the very pages of the book, slithering across the floor, taking flight on leathery wings, and letting out guttural roars that shook the little cottage. The room was no longer his own. It was a gateway. Panic seized Eli. He tried to slam the book shut, to reverse what he had done, but it was too late. The leather-bound tome felt like it had fused to his hands, its dark magic now coursing through him, too strong to fight. By morning, the entire village was cloaked in a thick, unnatural fog that carried a sense of dread. The creatures Eli had unwittingly unleashed now roamed freely through the streets. Their hunger was insatiable, their power beyond anything the villagers could comprehend. Screams echoed through the mist as people ran for their lives, but the monsters were relentless, and they were everywhere. Houses were torn from their foundations, livestock vanished without a trace, and the very earth seemed to tremble under their heavy, monstrous steps. Eli ran through the chaos, his voice raw from shouting for help, pleading for someone to do something. But the villagers, armed with simple tools and folk charms, were powerless against these horrors from another world. Every spell they tried, every prayer they uttered, simply failed. The book, still gripped in Eli's hands, seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if it were feeding on the rampant fear and destruction. By the time night fell again, the once peaceful village was a desolate wasteland. The surrounding forest, once a place of wonder for Eli, was now alive with the growls, shrieks, and sinister whispers of the creatures that had emerged from the cursed pages. Eli, utterly broken and consumed by terror, finally understood the terrible truth. The book wasn't just a collection of stories, it was a key to a lock that should never have been turned. And once the door was opened, there was no closing it. There was no way to undo the nightmare he had set free. The child who once wandered the world in wide-eyed wonder now wandered through the ruins of his home in absolute despair, a powerless witness to the darkness he had caused. As the full moon rose, casting an eerie glow over the ruined village, the creatures howled in a triumphant chorus. Down on the scorched earth, the book lay open. Its pages turned on their own in the wind, as if waiting, patiently, to whisper their dark secrets to the next curious soul who might stumble upon its cursed knowledge. Eli sank to his knees, the monstrous shapes closing in around him, a chilling realization washing over him. No one, not the villagers, not the heroes from his stories, and certainly not he, could stop this darkness now. And so, the village passed from memory into legend, a cautionary tale whispered by travelers. A story of a boy, a book, and a curiosity far too dangerous to indulge. It became a place where the night never ended, and the creatures never, ever slept. Thank you so much for joining me on this chilling journey. If you enjoyed this story and want more Tales from the Shadows, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, stay curious but be careful what you read.